Okay, are we ready to come back? For the past several weeks, our TA Lydia has been working very hard on uploading all the videos she tape recorded here. She's going to introduce briefly about what she has done so you can know how to access our good resources.
Okay, so you can go to Ranch. This is our website, ranch.cc blog link and court, and then you can click on the link like this, and you'll see these are the videos I uploaded, and you can click this one, CCU Linguistic, or subscribe it. So if any new video is on the web, you can just know here, and then. About your assignments, I put it over here. Students' projects, and these are every projects that you've been written. So you can go on this website and view other classmates' work. Okay, so do you have any question? And this website can also change into English if you don't understand Chinese. You can go to the first. You can go to its front page and then this place. Click on English and then it will turn into English. Okay?
Then after you turn it into English, how do you go to our site?
You just type blog and then language, lang and court.
Language and court.
Yeah, language and court. And then this one is our website. And I've put all the PPTs on the album. Oh, okay. You can also save these PPTs from here. And then the last thing, you can go to Guestbook and then leave messages if you want to share anything you want to share with us.
But basically, this website is for the Ministry of Education, which supported our work here, so we can hire 2 TAs to help us. Actually, yeah, two TAs. But we do have our e-course platform. That is our official website. This is a showcase. Okay, now I'm going to discuss the 2 chapters that I hope you read ahead of time, Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. It's important to have some background and to see some examples from the 2 chapters that will be very useful when you analyze your own cases. So this serves as provision of some background for this course. Basically, in this chapter, I want to discuss 3 points. The first point is, what is a genre? And especially a legislative genre. A legislative genre. And the second point I want to make is examination of a lawyer's defense strategy. That's the second point. Okay? And the third point I want to talk about is 3 realities. Because there's so much information in this chapter. If I go through every single slide, that will put you to sleep in no time. That's why, I'm trying to figure out a good strategy to hold your attention, to only give you the major points so you can remember. And I illustrate with some examples. That should be sufficient. But leave out a lot of tedious detail which you can read if you're interested on your own. You can read on your own. So if you can remember these 3 points, that should be very good, very useful for chapter 3. You all know what is a genre. If you read a newspaper, right, you know, okay, that's newspaper genre. Or if you read the Bible or some kind of religious script, you know it's a certain genre, right? You also know a novel. When you read Sherlock Holmes, you know this is a novel genre. And when you look at somebody's notes as a record of your conversation, you know this is a spoken genre put into a written format. So these are all genres, different genres. Genre is defined as conventional, repeated, and distinctive features of text that arise from its communicative purpose. So each genre, for example, a novel or a newspaper, it all occurs in a specific situation. It has a specific domain in a specific situation, right? For news reading or for leisure reading as novel, for news reading as newspaper, and it has certain structure, right? For example, my lecture is a genre. You have certain expectation, there's certain script, certain steps. First, I should say such and such, and then I should move on to my points in sequence. I also need to provide some illustrations, and at the end, I should summarize. That's a genre of lectures, right? So it has a structure. It also has the best example of, say, a lecture. A very typical example. Some professors don't lecture as much, or they use peripheral cases, peripheral style, which is not typical lecture. And you all know how to joke, right? When you joke about something, tell me a joke, then you all know you have to keep a poker face. You can't laugh if you joke, right? I'm not a good joker because I always laugh before I talk about the joke. All right, so I'm not a prototypical joker. I'm a penguin joker, peripheral joker. All right, so that's the first point. But why do we need to talk about genre? Because you will see sometimes genres are within genres. For example, here we see a police interviews a suspect. The police has some different genres, different styles of speaking for different purposes. If you read this, it demonstrates how in police interviews, officers switch between acting as a representative of the institution as 143. Now the police is an authority. He says, we have to find out what's happened to the child. Okay, it's very authoritative. That's one genre, institutional talk. And the second one is adopting an almost therapeutic role. As in turn 149, the police said, we are here to help you. That's a different genre. Now the police turns into a friend, a consultant who is there for therapeutic purposes. Like in therapy, therapeutic role, we are here to help you. We're a friend. Tell me everything you know. That's the second genre. Okay? And also in 163, that's also the same case. It's important to you, just for you, to tell us what's happened. See, right? So you can see 143 is one genre, authoritative, institutional talk. 149 and 163, it's like in a psychiatrist office or psychologist clinic, right? Very friendly, asking you for information because I am on your side. I'm always with you. Tell me every secret. So that's a different genre. Okay, and what's important to know is in police interview, when they write out their records, they have to integrate legislative genre into the police interview. So all the key words from the law are incorporated into the police record because they are going to use it as evidence against you. So for example, we see legislative genre. This is the law. What is theft? Theft, okay? It's if you dishonestly, knowingly appropriates property belonging to another person. In other words, you can see it must be property belonging to another person, and you treat this thing as your own. These are the key words. Now let's look at the police interview. The police interview here integrate those bolded terms, legislative genre, into the records here. For example, the police said, all the money's there, you know, wasn't your money? See? That's incorporation of legislative genre into police questioning. And then the police also said, and you've assumed rights of ownership, and you've used that money as your own, knowing that that money is not yours. Okay, so look at this police interviews. They incorporated all these important terms into the record. That's the so-called integrating a legislative genre into a police interview. Now, let's look at the second point, which is a lawyer always tries to come up with a defense strategy. Right? For example, if somebody committed some kind of crime, which is grievous bodily harm, they do grievous bodily harm to you, the major point here is he intentional? Is he intentionally hurting you? Or is he doing it on impulse? He just couldn't help it. On the spur of the moment, he hits you. He hurts you. Just on the spur of the moment. That's impulse. Very impulsive, spontaneous. He doesn't stop and think and do it, but just, just hit you or something like that. Harm you on the spur of the moment. So it's important to decide whether it's based on impulse or intent. Then how do lawyers defend for somebody who may be on the borderline, Okay, let's look at the example here. Shepard describes as a forward defense strategy. In other words, the lawyer warns the jury, patient plan, the jury, to pay attention to the following statement before you make the final decision. In British court, it's the jury that makes the decision. So here, in American court, it's jury's decision. Let's look at this. The defense view of intent is laid before the jury in advance of the prosecution cross-examination. It is returned to by the defense lawyer in his closing address to the jury, who have to decide the case in relation to intent. The jury has to make a decision whether this person did it based on intent or just impulse. Now, the lawyer says, you might want to consider the circumstances surrounding what happened, and in general terms, you might want to consider whether anything did happen before the blow was delivered. Blow, somebody hit somebody else, blow. Was there any physical contact between Mr. So-and-so and the defendant? Is it a case in which he did appear to stop and consider what he was doing? Or was it a quick response to something which just happened? Perhaps a touching on the shoulder or perhaps, as he suggests, more physical violence. So look at the parallelism here. The lawyer suggested two possibilities. On the one hand, would you consider it's an action that he did appear to stop and consider? That's intentional. Or it's a quick response to something which just happened. That's impulsive. And look at the position of the two options. The jury is invited to consider two possibilities in relation to deciding intent: planning and spontaneity. Planning is the first option, stop and consider, or a quick response, with the second of the two rhetorically prominent as end focus and underlined by the agentless verb happened and the mitigating adverb just. In other words, if you look at what he said, he put a quick response at the end. Usually, the second position is the more prominent position. Okay, you have A or B. The B position is more prominent. So you put your desired answer right there, just to, give them some hint. Choose B. Don't choose A. And he also used language, for example, a quick response to something which just happened. Just. That's a mitigating adverb. In other words, it's not intentional, it just happened. Without any second thought, it just occurred. All right? So you can see the lawyer's defense strategy. We call it a forward defense strategy. All right? The third point I want to make is when you are being questioned by a police, actually there are three realities during the conversation. Okay, three realities. The first reality is present tense. In other words, in a courtroom, when somebody is questioning you, you are sitting here being questioned. That's the present tense, right? That's the first reality. But while you are being questioned, you were asked to talk about what happened before. The past tense, that's the second reality. So sometimes you have to, go back and forth between the two realities, living in the present, facing the police, and also reflecting back on what happened before. That's the past reality. But then there's also the third reality. In police interviewing, sometimes they also want to draw you to the third reality, which is the future. After they question you and write the record, you are going to be judged in the courtroom. You are going to face the jury, face the judge. That's the third reality. So you have the present tense being questioned right now by the police. Reflecting back to the past, that's the second reality. Then you also foresee the future, what you are going to say or how you're going to face the judge, the jury. In the third reality, that's future tense. That's the so-called three realities. No wonder, in a conversation like that between a police and a suspect, it's so complicated. There are all three realities, coming back and forth, and sometimes you have to dwell on the past, sometimes the present, sometimes foresee the future. So what is the truth? What is the reality? Which reality are you reacting to? Now there are three realities here. Let me just give you an example of the first reality. 117 is the first reality, the present tense. The police said, can I just perhaps interrupt you there for a moment, just so I can get a full picture? What sort of a state were both of you in? I mean, were you drunk? Were you happy? So that's the present reality. The police is asking, let me interrupt you and ask you to give me the full picture. Then 124 and 126 is the past. Then the suspect said,